it took me so long because there were so many lessons I had to learn in between. I had to
Mm.
lose deals. I had to lose, things. I had to make mistakes. I had to miss a follow up and then lose a deal, a potential deal, or something like that. Right?
Right.
I had to go through that so I can know because I came from a place of not knowing. But
And I think that's such an important part for anyone starting or doing something, to know that you're supposed to have the setbacks, you're supposed to have the failures. The failures are your findings, your way to success.
for sure, no, for sure, and that's another thing uh, that you could see. People who are very honest about that, like Michael Jordan, talk about how many shots he missed. Obviously, the very famous, he got cut from his high school basketball team, right? And that kind of caused him to train even harder.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you need those. Those build humility, character. Um, you know,
Well, I
they
the
just
way I see
showing
those
example.
is when these bad things or failures or whatever happen, is to find it where, how could I have been better or taking control of the situation? Because before, you didn't know what you didn't know. So you didn't know that you were supposed to control a certain thing, or you needed to train this way or do this specific thing. So by the failure happening, it's like, okay, rather than blame the situation or whatever, you're like, okay, how can I take control so that this doesn't happen again? And I think that's the
Yeah,
beauty of it.
I couldn't agree more. I
Good.
couldn't agree more.
Because
It's just
otherwise, I
so
was going
many
to have to
lessons.
turn off the stream.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Done.
But it's so many findings you have to get go through, right? To get to where you need to go, to where you want to be. Um, and I think if everyone who's, especially if you're starting out and you're kind of in the phase of like the dark room and you don't even know what to do, like you're still finding your footing, keep that in mind, every day. Um, and the findings and that kind of stuff starts becoming exciting because you're on the right path.
Yeah.
And I tell, whenever I talk to people, I was like, you just can't be stagnant. That's the
Yeah.
one thing you cannot do. I
100%.
was talking,
Don't. If
I
you're
was,
lost, the worst thing, if no one's coming for you, because no one's going to save you on any of this stuff. If you're
mhm.
lost, do you just sit there and give up? Or do you say, okay, let's go and start taking
Yeah,
steps?
it's funny. I was telling my friend that the other day, and he's starting a clothing company, and he's at a place right now where he's reached a plateau, and he needs more and more to pay for more marketing to get more and more sales.
Okay.
But he's afraid to pull the trigger on this one marketing stream because out of fear of messing up and losing his money. And I'm like, dude, do it. Just do it. Don't be the one thing you can't be is stagnant.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, you at least checked one thing out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You checked one thing
You'll
off and you
learn
can move
something
on to the
from it.
next. Yeah. And the one thing I told him, I was like, people think business and success is about making the right moves, but it's really about checking the boxes of what's not right.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna go through so much bullshit,
Yeah.
so many mistakes. Um, so I think, if you chase those and really take that imperfect action, you're going to cross off your mistakes much faster
Oh,
because it's like what you said, you don't know what you don't know. And the way you know is by messing up
mm-hmm.
most of the time,
I mean, that's
right?
how we learn to walk. I mean, kids take a step, they don't know what they don't know, they don't know how to balance, and they fall. And they try again until they figure out this whole balance thing. Like, it's just trying and trying, mistake and mistake. And I think
Yeah.
it was Marlon that I had on a podcast that was so good, that he was talking about walking on a tightrope or a slack line. And he says that everyone always wants to try to balance in the middle. And he says whenever he trains people, what he does is he has them lean all the way to the left, lean all the way to the right, so that they can feel like where they actually tip over on each side. And then he says your goal is just to stay in between those. Like, you're never going to be perfectly balanced, but you just can't go past these barriers. So I think that, like,
That's awesome.
having those failures is like necessary, is the whole
Sure.
metaphor there.
For sure. And then I think obviously getting a mentor can definitely help. because you're learning from their failures, right? But at some point, someone had to fail to get a lesson, right?
Yeah,
And
100%.
and it doesn't excuse you from failing on your, you know, yourself, right? But I think those failures should be celebrated, you know, because it's the opposite of stagnancy. And stagnancy, it's like you're like a fish, you know, just keep swimming, because if you stop, that's how you die.